the infamous Halifax Christmas tree fire of 1917. Christmas trees, symbols of joy, unity, and light in the coldest, darkest time of the year. But what if the twinkling lights and sparkling ornaments hide a more sinister story? Tonight, we take you back to a cold December in 1917, to a city reeling from one of the worst disasters in history. This is the story of the Halifax explosion and the infamous Christmas tree fire that followed, a haunting tale of grief, unexplained events, and the lingering shadows of tragedy. December 6, 1917, Halifax, Nova Scotia. The world is at war, and this bustling port city plays a vital role, its harbor filled with ships transporting troops and supplies. It was just another morning when an accidental collision in the harbor between the SS Mont Blanc, a French munition ship, and the SS Imo, a Norwegian vessel, unleashed unprecedented devastation. The Mont Blanc was loaded with nearly 3,000 tons of explosives. When the ship caught fire, it created the largest human-made explosion prior to the atomic bomb. The blast leveled much of Halifax, killed over 1,900 people, injured 9,000, and left countless families homeless. Survivors spoke of eerie silence before the detonation, and a sky turned black with ash. In the wake of the devastation, Halifax and its surrounding areas struggled to recover. Among the stories of resilience, a gesture of gratitude emerged that still endures today: a Christmas tree. In 1918, Nova Scotia sent a massive evergreen to Boston, a thank you for their swift and generous aid after the explosion. But hidden in this well-known act of kindness is a darker tale, the story of a smaller Christmas tree that remained in Halifax. This particular tree, taken from a lot near the site of the explosion, was purchased by a local family looking to bring light and joy to their shattered lives. What they didn't know was that this tree would become a harbinger of fear and inexplicable tragedy. The Sullivan family, like many others, had lost loved ones and their home in the explosion. They managed to rebuild, moving into a modest house near the edge of town. As Christmas approached, they bought the tree to honor their lost daughter, Mary, whose favorite tradition had been decorating for the holidays. They adorned the tree with what few ornaments they could salvage. But something felt off. Mrs. Sullivan claimed she smelled smoke near the tree, despite there being no fire. Young Billy Sullivan, barely 5 years old, refused to go near it, muttering about a dark man under the branches. Neighbors chalked it up to the trauma of the explosion, but the family, they knew it was something more. On Christmas Eve, the Sullivan family settled in for the night. The house was quiet except for the crackle of a small fire in the hearth. Mrs. Sullivan awoke just after midnight to a chilling sound, the faint but distinct echo of children's laughter, eerie and disjointed. She thought it was a dream until the air filled with the acrid smell of burning wood. She ran to the living room and froze. The Christmas tree was ablaze, flames consuming it in a bright, feral rage. What she saw next turned her blood cold. Shadowy figures seemed to flicker within the fire, their shapes vaguely human, their faces twisted in expressions of grief and pain. The family barely escaped with their lives, but the fire gutted their home, leaving only ashes where their Christmas tree had stood. When neighbors arrived, they found Mrs. Sullivan trembling, muttering about voices and figures in the flames. Others in the area began to share strange stories, houses catching fire inexplicably, ghostly apparitions in reflections, and unsettling sounds of crying near the sites of former homes. Was it lingering trauma from the Halifax explosion, or did the destruction of that day leave something more behind? Some speculated that trees grown near the blast site absorbed more than just nutrients from the soil. They carried the grief and pain of those who perished. Over time, stories of the Christmas tree fire became part of local folklore. Residents began avoiding trees from certain areas near the harbor, and whispers of cursed evergreens spread. Even now, some claim that during the holiday season, faint traces of smoke can be smelled near those sites, and fleeting shadows appear among the Christmas lights. Experts in the paranormal have attempted to explain the phenomena. Could it be residual energy left by the sheer scale of the Halifax tragedy? Or perhaps objects from the area, like the Christmas trees, became conduits for restless spirits, unable to find peace after such a sudden and violent end? We may never know the truth, but as we light our own trees this holiday season, remember the story of the Sullivans and their ill-fated Christmas tree. Sometimes, joy and sorrow intertwine, leaving behind echoes that refuse to fade. The Halifax Christmas tree fire is a reminder that even the most beautiful traditions can hide unspeakable darkness. So, as you sit by your tree tonight, consider what might linger in its shadows, sweet dreams, and a very Merry Christmas.